Hi, Tamiko.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's so good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too.
And I'm so excited to get to chat with you. Many times I'm chatting with a woman I've known for many years or have worked with in the past. And so it's really rare that I get to chat with somebody that I'm still exploring kind of what your story is. So that's always a real treat for me.
Me too.
But it's fun, right? Because I feel like sometimes we don't get to talk about our stories in this way or have someone ask us the questions that really get to the heart of some of what we've experienced. So we met, we have both been a part of a very cool program called Leadership Sacramento. It's a really cool opportunity to dig into behind the scenes of what's happening in the city, get to know other folks that really care about the impact they're having in your community. So highly recommend if anybody's interested. Would you also recommend?
Absolutely. Great time. And I'm a native, so to figure out things or find out things about your area being a native, I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Tamiko's just one of those women that you meet and immediately go, I feel like I've known you forever. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that.
Sometimes I talk too much.
Yeah. Me too. So that's probably why we get along. So I thought we could start with, you've been working in the public sector for over 20 years. Is that right?
Yes. 23, be 24 this year.
Okay. Which is incredible. I mean, I think there's so much, there's a wealth of wisdom I'm sure you could share just by navigating the evolution of even being in government for that period of time. But were you always interested in working in government? Did you know?
Heck no. I think I wanted to originally be a buyer for retail. I started my career, of course, doing retail like everybody else in high school. My first job was Ross. I was
Abercrombie.
the fitting room
Abercrombie and Fitch for me, which is embarrassing.
Fitting room coordinator, okay? But then I went over to Famous Footwear. And I worked there for quite a while. I was assistant manager, but then I was a traveling assistant manager. So basically, if I came in your store, you were doing something wrong. So I had to fix it or do something.
You're about to put the rules down.
Yeah, to get you back on track. And so I did a lot with that. I helped the marketing team whenever they came into town, and the buying team, the marketing team, which was one of the buyers that would come. And I was always just like intrigued by the stuff that she did, how she did her job, that kind of stuff. So I really, truly wanted to be a buyer. But life happens, and I think I can't remember exactly where the headquarters for Famous Footwear, but it was like in the middle of nowhere. And of course, I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I had a kid at the time. And so, of course, I had to figure out ways to be able to pick her up from school or take her to school, one of those things. And so I had to change my career. But funny enough, before I went to Famous Footwear, I worked at Izod out in the outlet.
Izod, yeah, that's pulling it back.
Remember Izod back in the day? Well, I got recruited to come to Famous Footwear because I was recruiting someone to take my job.
Okay.
And I got recruited by one of the Partridge kids.
No way.
Yes. She was the youngest one that was on the show.
Okay.
And she was the manager out in Folsom. So I think that is kind of cool.
If that's like your 7 degrees of separation from somebody in Hollywood, like that's pretty cool.
I always say I'm Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. So when you were kind of poking around at that stage of your career thinking like, what is going to feel stable? What's going to, bring in what I need for my young child, and thinking about all these things we have to think about as moms or caretakers or whatever. When you entered into this kind of new space, what was that like as you were getting to know the ropes of what it felt like to work in government?
I think the first shocker, and I think is for any person that steps into government, especially in the state space, because in the state you only get paid once a month.
Oh, is that? I actually had no idea. Yeah, I didn't know that.
We only get paid once a month. Huh. And so coming from retail, and I was paid very well to come into the state and get paid once a month and to get paid less than what I was making in retail. It was a big shocker.
Yeah.
But, that 8 to 5 schedule, you going in at 8 and getting off at 5, there was nothing that could beat it. And the benefits. So that was it was really good for me, especially with a young child, to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I think we take for granted sometimes what it means to have some kind of stability, especially when you've got the young ones. It already feels like life is in tumult at all times. So
right.
Not have that be another factor that you're worrying about through those early years is, it's fortunate, I think, to have that.
Yeah. And then to be able to, as the years go, I've worked at different departments, quite a few different departments, but it's really one of those situations that I'm a real big learner, right? So it's like, once I stop learning, then
it's time to go.
It's time to go.
Yeah. I get that.
And the good
I'm like,
thing,
no, now what's the shiny object over here? Because this has gotten boring.
So the good thing with the state is everything stays the same because we're all employed by the state of California, not the individual department.
Right.
So nothing changes as long as I move within the state. So I find what I've done is not only promoted within, but I've also, changed my position based on my current level and just transferred to another department if I thought something was intriguing or wanted to learn or something along those lines. So for me, I would say that it really has benefited me working for the state for as long as I have and I've gotten really good opportunities working with the state. Out of 24 years coming up this year, coming up October, I think I've only had one bad experience.
Which we're going to get to, by the way, because you've shared that with me. Unless you don't want to go there. But it is you had such a beautiful way of talking about it that I think is really, really helpful for anybody that might be navigating a challenging situation like you went through. But before we go there, I'm curious. I feel like sometimes government can kind of feel like this, this thing over there that if you haven't been civically engaged or you don't have like a full kind of awareness of how it works with and for you, or supposedly, we hope, for folks that might be interested in either early career and they're curious about the sector or they're looking to maybe pivot into government. Do you have any suggestions for how to start thinking about that?
Yeah, I think first, one of the things that I kind of do is look at the department's mission and vision statement, see if it aligns with you. A lot of the departments do different things. There are and I understand when people are looking into the state and it could just be overstimulating.
It just feels like, there's so much.
Yeah. Looking at the different positions that we have, looking at these generic titles that we have. But really, it's look for the department that you may be interested in. Look at the mission and vision. Look at what the actual duty statement says. See if it aligns with something that you want to do. Just go for it. It does take a minute. We are on an old system. Nothing as fast as the private sector is, but we have gotten a little bit better because you can apply online now, which is when I started, it was
a whole other thing. I can't even imagine.
Stamps.
Yeah. You were walking it to the physical buildings.
Yes, to the building or putting it in the mail. It was, first class, double stamps. I don't know. It was heavy. But, carrying pigeons, it's been a while. But it really is. It really is a good opportunity, especially if you're looking for something that you want to do to help California. One of the departments, it's no longer a department, but it used to be called Mr. Mib. What it did was the healthcare for children. Oh. So it used to be Healthy Families. And so I wanted to go work there so bad. And then it got consumed with another department and then it went away. So I used to apply. And then finally one of the people were like, girl, when something comes up, I'm going to email you.
Yeah. I will let you know.
You start to get to know people because the world is so small. Even though there's over 200,000 state employees, the world is small.
It is such a small world. And especially Sacramento can already feel small at times, which I think that's just a product of the way the community runs itself.
Big little city.
Okay, so let's talk about the moment. You had a moment that you had shared with me that I'd love for you to share a little bit more on, but what I loved that your reflection on it was that we are more than our job. And that was kind of your, this idea that we are so consumed by our title and our old ways of thinking around, oh my gosh, if I have to make this shift, what will it do for my career? And I think especially maybe not early, but even early to mid-career, you can really kind of convince yourself of some truths that aren't true. Yes. They can become true, but it's not universal. And there are ways to navigate these situations. And I just loved that was your perspective on it. So if you're open to sharing a little bit about that experience.
A couple of things. One of the things, like, I just happen to have the opportunity to be related to so many people in town that I can so just
it's really small for you, actually. Then.
Yeah, it's super small. The world is small for me, very small. So I constantly am calling an aunt or an uncle or a cousin to have these conversations with not just about career, but just about stuff and how I'm looking at life. And am I going crazy, or does this sound like I'm going crazy? And that was one of the things that I did when I was dealing with this position. It was my first time being a manager. And there were so many things that happened in this position that I never experienced because it was my first time being a manager, that I just didn't know even could happen, being a first time manager. It went from staff, their behavioral issues, to being somewhat sabotaged, to someone wanting the job that didn't get the job. It was all encompassing. And this was my first date manager position.
And that's already it's such a hard, I don't feel like, maybe you had a different experience, but typically we don't put scaffolding around the person that's becoming the new manager. Like, there's not a whole training or a whole thing about how you become a manager. You're like, you're a manager now.
Yes.
Good luck.
That is exactly it. You get the training after you become a manager.
It's by being a manager that you get the training.
Yes. You become one, and then you get the training, and you got a year to take the training.
Yes.
And so I went in this position thinking, oh, I can do this. And within months, I went to my aunt and was like, oh, you know what? I don't know if I like this. And I was like, how do I navigate this? And the whole time I was in the position, I was doubting myself. I didn't think it was anyone else other than myself and my ability. And so I was going to my aunt trying to figure out ways to better myself. Not thinking there were other things happening, but really, what am I doing wrong? How do I adjust myself to make this a better situation for all of us? Because it was me. It had to be me.
Right.
And then as we talked and talked and talked, I came to a realization that I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be in the position. It was hurting me mentally. I had just sent my daughter off to school, and this is like my first experience as a manager. And I'm like, I'm depressed. I don't even get depressed, but I'm depressed eating in my car, at lunchtime. How does this happen?
No.
So I decided to leave after talking with my aunt and her telling me it'll be okay, but me telling myself, oh, this has set me back. I was like, I'm going to go back to being an associate governmental program analyst, and I'm just going to set my career back years. Because while the state is great, honestly, there's not a lot of Black managers. And to get to that position and then to have to say, I'm going to reject myself on probation because this just isn't a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Was a hard pill to swallow.
Oh, I can't even imagine how the gymnastics that you have to do mentally to get there has to be wild.
Yes. So after sitting with it and deciding I'm just going to go back, whatever happens, happens. It's just not for me. I did it. And it played with me all the way up to making the decision. And then once I made the decision and decided to move back, the reflection was, dang, I just did that. But 2 months later, I got another opportunity to do it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time I'm doubting myself.
Yes.
The reality was I shouldn't have been.
Because it was actually happening. The people were.
It was actually happening.
Yes.
And I was getting sabotaged, and all the things that I thought that I was doing wrong wasn't just me.
Right.
There were other factors that were in the works. But at the same time, I didn't need to concern myself and wrapping my mind into this position.
Yeah.
Was I able to pay my bills? That should have been my concern.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Was I able to send my daughter money, what she was calling for every day at this point? And I shouldn't wrap my mind around being the boss. It was really, how am I caring for the people that are around me? Because there were so many things that happened during that position. One of my staff ended up getting cancer.
Oh my gosh.
One of the staff, was having issues due to personal things. And all of these things were happening. And I still had to be, I felt like I still needed to help these people.
Sure.
And be responsible and say, hey, what do you need and how can I help you? All the while, my mind is in turmoil.
Yeah, right.
So, but it all worked to the good. I ended up getting a better position. I had a little bit of PTSD in the beginning, though.
Yeah.
Like, can I do this? Can I do that?
Yeah.
And then they're like, why do you keep asking us that?
Like, just checking.
But, they helped me build back up my confidence level that had been knocked down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting, as you might imagine, in all of these conversations that I have, there's these themes and patterns that emerge. And one is around this, it must be me. It's it's on me, or I must be the one. And the not trusting yourself, or like the learning how to trust yourself is something that you have to actively do. It's not something that you're like, oh, there's that gut feeling again. I'm just going to go that way.
And then I'm such a I don't care person, meaning not I don't care about people or I don't care about things, but I just don't care about, being perceived a certain way. I'm such that person. But in that moment, it was gone.
Interesting. What do you think that was about?
I don't know. And it was terrible.
Well, I think when that self-doubt creeps in, right? You're like, wait a second. I have this integrity, this foundation that I feel so clear about. And if there's like internal sabotage happening, it's typically done in a way that is insidious. It's not so obvious. I mean, that can also happen, but I think it is just enough to where you start to go, am I making this up? Am I crazy? Yeah. But the reality is listening to ourselves, especially when you know that has not been what you've experienced, right? This is a new thing to go, wait a second, this does not feel right. So to have that validated, as much as it sucks that you had to have it validated on the back end, what an interesting lesson, I imagine. And also listening to yourself and going, no, I knew something was off. I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I don't doubt myself.
Yeah.
It ain't me.
My husband,
if you think it's me, it's still you.
Yes. Well, there's something about knowing yourself, even knowing when you are part of the issue or the problem or whatever, but there's still a knowing in that. It doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden right all of the time, but it does mean your gut is telling you also when you might be off course or where you might be falling or slipping into some patterns that aren't your favorite way to show up or whatever. I think it takes time. It takes years, I think, to really get to that, but you have to be active about it. It can't be something that's passive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a woman. I met a woman recently who did a talk at Creative Mornings, and she's a psychic, and she has this incredible ability of tuning in and tapping into what's going on with people. And she was saying that too. Like, we all have these abilities within us. She's like, this is not about telling the future and me reading your palm and the whole thing. This is about that inner knowing. And it's like listening to this small little voice and actually hearing it and acting on it. She's like, even in these small little moments throughout your day, because that's actually how you hone that muscle. So when the big stuff happens, you're ready for it. You're not totally out of tune with that piece of who you are.
I think, and actually within that situation, it helped me. There's so many through lines, I think, for me when I think about how the things I've done in the past and how they help me in the future. I think that helped me run for office because I've never been in a situation really that tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So to have so many things happen in 1 year.
Yes. You're building that muscle on overtime.
Exactly. And then to go into running for office, I was like, oh, I already have this muscle.
Yes.
To go ahead and take in. I mean, some of these made up stories that come my way.
Oh, that has to be, I'm so curious about that, like how you navigate that. I mean, I feel like with anybody that is public facing or external facing, that just comes with the territory now. There's no getting around it. If you have a point of view and if you have a face that is seen in a community, online, whatever, you have to just expect that that will be part of the game. So I'm curious how you navigated that.
I just didn't respond. I responded one time and then I realized, it's really tricky for me to respond, especially in that situation. It was really tricky because it ends up looking like the big, mean, angry Black woman is responding to the sweet little... So most of the time I just didn't respond.
I was going to say, yes, I think there's something to not engaging externally.
Because it wasn't true.
Sure. I guess if you're like, I don't care because it's not the thing, right? But I think internally, was that a struggle for you at all?
No. The only time that I ever had a disappointment was from organizations like a couple of the Black women organizations that are local. When they wrote something about me, that's the only time that I actually was like, oh,
wait a second,
that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, oh, maybe we could have got on a call. Sure. We could have talked about it and then they would understand my perspective. And of course, some people from those organizations I did get on a call with and understood my perspective, but that's the only time that I ever cared about responding to anything. Yeah. Because honestly, if you're making, like, I had somebody literally say something like, I'm her neighbor and she's a bad person to something he said. And I was like, I've never seen you. I don't know
in my life.
And I, the funny thing about it is I work with our neighborhood association a lot. So it's like, it was literally 3 of us that put on all the events for our neighborhood.
You're like, I would know you.
Not only would I know you, like you would have come to an event and you've come to nothing. Yeah. And you were sitting here saying that you know me. You don't know me.
So wild though. I mean, it is an interesting, bizarre thing that I feel like we see more and more of now where people feel the need to tear folks down, tear folks down. It's like, what is the point? What are you getting out of that by being this, stranger that wants to it's weird. It's just weird.
Exactly. That's where my I don't care attitude comes. I'm like, I don't even know you, weirdo.
Well, yes. And I feel like what you're touching on a little bit maybe is that it's the difference between having someone that you genuinely care about giving you feedback or maybe offering a criticism or maybe not supporting you in the way you were hoping versus a total stranger that you could give 2 shits about whether or not they, that makes sense to me. Yes. I think
like one time, one person said, well, I guess there was some mailing that went out and I did not do this mailing, but it was mailing that went out. It was like, you should come to meetings before you say somebody else didn't come to meetings. And I was like, what meeting did I miss? I was like, oh, my daughter's graduation from college.
How dare you? How dare you have a life? You don't have a life? Get out of here.
I was like, these people are wild.
Well, this was going to be a segue I was interested in, which is you did run for Sacramento City Council a few years ago. I'm sure there's plenty to unpack with the experience, but what got you interested in getting involved in the local side of politics after working at the state level for as long as you have? I think this is another interesting space for people where they're like, that feels way over here. That feels like I could never do that. But I think people that are really interested in having an effect and an impact in their local communities, they're interested in some way, shape, or form of what this looks like. So number one, what your interest was, and then two, how you started to open that door.
Yeah. So, how I started, basically, I used to be the commissioner for the area for in active transportation, and how that kind of backdoored in. A friend of mine, she also lives in the neighborhood. We were just trying to get a crosswalk into Curtis Park.
Oh, yeah.
Because all the
whereabouts? Now I gotta know which one.
The Sunville one.
Yes. Okay.
So when the engineers come, they're like trying to line it up to Curtis Park coming over to the North City Farm side. She was like, "Why would you do that? We're trying to go to the park." But really, that's how it started. She couldn't do it, so I ended up becoming commissioner for active transportation. I also used to ride my bike to work, so I was a biker and walker and all that kind of stuff. So crosswalks and biking, big deals to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my entry into local politics, right? So then when the redistricting happened for District 5, the person who was going to run before was redistricted out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I was like, well, I know this community like the back of my hand. So I was talking with staff for the previous council member, and they were like, well, maybe you should run. So I thought about it, and then I was like, well, why not?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm really, sometimes when I make decisions, it's like,
just go.
Why not?
Yes.
Let's try it.
Yes.
Right?
I love that.
And I've done a lot working community-wise, and it's always been in the background because a lot of my friends work in nonprofit. And so I've always worked in their programs, volunteered. For years, I worked on different projects that have made many headlines in Sacramento, but I've never been on the front side. So this was very much a new thing for me.
Sure.
And what drove me to it, which I didn't tell a lot of people about, but I'll tell you since we're talking.
It's just you and me and my best friends.
We're talking. My mom had passed away probably the month or so before. And when my sister and I went to do her funeral, our whole old neighborhood, all the women that she went to high school with and all that, pretty much came together and helped us put that together. And so they brought the food, they brought the tables. My cousin, that's her age, brought the pop-up, and we had a nice repast in my backyard, and they literally did everything. And so I coupled that with moving into my house now, maybe a year or so after someone ran into my fence and knocked it down.
Okay.
And my neighbor across the street noticed it, and he called me, and I was at work. And he was like, well, I'm going to try to do something until you get home. And so he put like chicken wire up, and just so, because I'm on a corner, just so no one could just walk in,
sure,
just willy-nilly or whatever. And then I noticed the next day someone put a note on my door and was like, I hit your fence.
Wow.
Here's my number.
Oh my gosh.
So then I text her and I was like, oh, I was calling for quotes. I'll let you know what happens. But then the next day, she had already sent somebody over, and they fixed that section of my fence.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so to me, community is super important, because really, I think about my life, and it's always been centered around community.
Mm-hmm.
My neighborhood that my mom grew up in, my grandmother, her sister, her other sister, and her brother lived in the same block.
That's so cool.
So I grew up around cousins over there. My other side, which is in my district currently, Golf Course Terrace, my grandmother lived in there. And my uncle lived on the same street. The man across the street from my grandparents helped teach my daughter how to ride her bike. also helped teach me how to parallel park.
Yeah. Which
so
is saying a lot. That takes some patience.
Yes. And then Future helped my daughter, learn how to ride a bike. So every time she was outside, he was outside
Wow.
to make sure there was no cars going around, going crazy,
Wow.
because that was his homie. He put air in her tire. And so just community I've always been just centered in community. And that was something that I could do.
Yeah.
I could run for office to make sure that I was working
for your community. Yeah.
Because really Sacramento is a bunch of little communities.
It really is.
Rolled up into one.
Yes.
So that was really it for me. That I was going to pull up my, tennis shoes, ended up being Hoka's because I ended up getting playing fasciitis trying to wear cute shoes.
Nope. I learned that lesson. My son literally asks me about my bunion every time I'm wearing sandals. I'm like, listen, I don't need to talk to you about this. Hoka's for the win, though. Maybe we do a little Hoka call out because those things have saved my butt. I love them.
I went to Fleet Feet and was like, help me. So... And honestly, that's really why I did it. I got in the race literally right before it was deadline. And I was out knocking on doors and running around.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I feel like, sometimes when you just make the decision and you don't have enough time to think about it's actually better because you're like, all right, I just gotta go. I can't overthink this. If I want the windows open for this short period of time, I gotta fly through it if I'm interested in even giving it a shot.
Yeah, because literally as I was going through it, and you have to raise money, and I'm not good with asking for money, but I got my hand held. People were really helpful and helping me get through that whole asking for money thing and helping me close. You want to sign, that kind of stuff. And the amount of money you have to raise to run a race is crazy.
Yeah. People don't talk about that too much.
Right. It's crazy. And really, truly, I think we should talk about it. I also just read through Emerge. And this was one of the things that I think I was talking with some of the people in Emerge is one we have to talk about is money. Because when you are out, because I asked my dad all the time for, to do stuff. And so when I was running and I needed to raise, I think I needed like $2,000. And so I'm going around asking for money. And then I tell my dad, I was like, I need $500 more. And my dad is a jokester like myself. So he was like, I'm going to give you $500 so you can lose, And so, but that's his joke, right? And so, but he gives me the money, of course. Yes. But it was just, running around, and he's like, he is also trying to get me money too. Yeah. And he's like, I'm asking everybody, and they just don't chip in. I said, because they don't realize
how much it takes,
money it costs to run a race.
Right. For folks that don't know what Emerge is, share a little bit.
Emerge is an organization that helps women run for office. It pretty much trains them, gives them an opportunity. It gives you a baseline of what you need to know in order to run for office. And I did it after the fact. Yeah. So I probably should have did it before, but I did it after the fact. But I will say it's for people who really truly want to get into that arena, even if you just want to be like a campaign manager or something.
That gives you a good insight, I'm sure.
Yeah, it gives you a good insight, to what to expect for running for office. I mean, of course, everything sometimes could be lacking because in this new world we live in, there's definitely some changes that are out there when it comes to the rules, because some people don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
And then also for a Black woman, there is, I hate to talk about it, but there is racism still,
Yes. Yeah.
I got a little bit on the campaign trail, but I'm one of those expected. So I just want you to make it funny. Yeah. So if it ain't funny, then you waste your time.
Well, we talked about that because I was sharing how I had read that Sacramento, which is where we are, has only ever seen a majority women city council once, and that was in 1989, which is, come on, Sacramento. And if you had one, you would have been only the third elected Black councilwoman in Sacramento. And obviously that's saying a lot about a lot.
It's saying a lot.
It's saying a lot about a lot.
So that means there were two elected, one appointed, two elected. And I actually had the opportunity, and I think it was an amazing opportunity for me. Lauren Hammond was elected, and I was able to sit with her. She was elected for this district. I was able to talk with her. She actually got me involved with National Women's Political Caucus.
Okay.
Which the only reason why I got involved is because of her.
Sometimes it takes that person, though, Sometimes somebody's got to show you the way a little bit.
She unexpectedly passed last year, but I'm still working with them, doing things whenever they call me because of her. They did not endorse me, though.
Oh, come on.
Lori did, but the organization did. But I'm one of those people that I don't care who you affiliated or who you endorsed. Just be honest about things, and I'll work with you. Because really the whole goal for me was community anyways.
Sure.
So if I can make the community better in any type of way and work with anybody, as long as they are authentically wanting to work for community, then I definitely want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's incredible. You shared, I was going to ask you, but then you shared before I even asked you when we were chatting earlier, what were some of the more surprising things that happened while you were on the campaign trail. And once again, sadly, not surprising some of what you were, some of these conversations you were having. But I think it's an important thing to share, number one, so folks are reminded that these things are still happening frequently in our own communities. And the fact that you were able to stay in conversation with this person and actually try to have discourse with someone that you could have said, you know what, screw off. I'm not going to stand here and have this conversation. So are you willing to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I knocked on this man's door, and actually in my own neighborhood that my grandmother lived in, he asked me what I could do for a white man. Yeah. And I was sat there. I thought it was funny in my head.
But he didn't think it was funny, I'm sure. I don't think that...
No, he didn't think it was funny. But in my head, I'm like, what? What am I going to do? I don't know. But really, it was really, truly... I could tell... You can tell when people are truly feeling a certain way, or if they want to be rude to you, or if they actually just want to have a conversation. And to me, when he said that to me, I felt that it was really a conversation that he wanted to have, and nobody took the time to listen to him.
And he had no idea how to approach the conversation in a way, like it was...
Correct. That was the only way he knew how to approach the conversation.
Sure.
And I think that was due to the echo chamber that he was in with the type of news that he consumed. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we ended up having a really good conversation. I stayed with him a lot longer than I would stay at a door, mainly because instead of attacking him or going at him with his question, I asked him questions back.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know really where that stemmed from, and if this what I could do for him, what was that really about?
Yeah.
And he kind of went on the tangent of, naming organizations that he felt didn't do the Black community good service. But then I took it back to him and say, hey, some of these organizations don't do anybody good service.
Right. And pretend like they do, or position themselves as if they do. Yeah.
And in some of them, it's not intentional. It's just how it ends up happening. Mm-hmm. And so after our conversation, he ended up telling me that he was going to vote for me.
Which is, I mean, that's amazing.
Which is amazing. But it was just really, I think it was one of the wildest openings. But to me, it was a really good conversation because I knew that he was really wanting to know
what his place was in this.
Yes, what his place was in the community.
I think in so many ways, everyone is looking for that in some way, shape, or form. And if we're not willing to sit in the discomfort, I'm not saying if somebody is being outwardly, awful to you, of course we need to have our boundaries and keep ourselves safe. But to be in this kind of discourse, I think it's so rare now to be willing to
Yes.
ask follow-up questions instead of meeting them with the same energy or, choosing to walk away is, I think, more of the default response. And so
happily,
that's how I think that's how change actually happens, is in these one-on-one conversations. I don't see it happening in these major systemic ways. I don't see it happening in these ways that we would hope our systems would support. And so if not that, then I do think that ability to be in those uncomfortable conversations is so important. But it also requires, he could have not been the type that was willing to answer, vulnerably with you, right? But I think you knowing that and seeing that and saying, wait, this is an opportunity for me to engage, that's a skill that I don't think, I don't know that I have that. I think I would have been like,
I grew up in Sacramento, around both military bases, around just a bunch of different people. I can tell when it's intentional.
Yeah.
I can tell when someone means me harm.
Yeah.
And I can tell when someone is just curious or has a question. So I think in this space, it's funny because I had a friend with me and she was like, I would have walked away. I can't believe. She was like, you proved to be a politician that day.
That's right. Yes. You're earning those stripes.
She was like, I'm all in. I was like, but really, I said, but she was like, no, I can tell that how he started the conversation isn't really where he wanted to go.
Right.
But she's like, I would have been so annoyed that I walked away.
Yeah.
And I was like, but we need that vote.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We're going to go for it. Well, and we don't have those tools, I think, really to ask questions in a way that are actually trying to get to where we're going, right? It's your point. We're all in an echo chamber of some kind.
Exactly.
And so what we do is use the language that we have,
that we know.
Yes. And so that does not make it okay. But I think that to be able to pull somebody on a journey versus just saying, well, then you stay there in your ignorant bullshit, that's a big thing.
Yes. I think, and I know you didn't ask this, but I think that's too why, to get on my little soapbox, it's very important that we look at history when we're talking about politics, right? If we know history and we know the full account of history, like, Black history, American history, then we could really understand where we meet.
Right.
If we don't teach it, and we don't all play from the same understanding pool, right? So I can understand why someone doesn't want to give reparations if they don't understand the full totality of what slavery did, because we don't talk about it.
That's right. That's right.
I can understand if you just think, well, Rosa Parks was tired that day. That's why she didn't want to get up and go to the back of the bus. Because that's how we used to teach it.
It's not funny, but it's so ridiculous. Like, it's not only do we not teach it, we actively teach against the things that
what it actually
matter,
was,
which is so wild.
Effort.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that is why, I try my best to actually try to be patient and really talk to people to understand where they're coming from before I react.
Yeah.
Now there's times where you can't.
There's a time and a place for a reaction. Let's be clear. But I hear what you're saying.
That was in the space that day.
Yes, and it's how do you recognize those moments where there might be an opportunity to be in conversation. I do want to end with the one question that I ask everyone, because so much of this to me is about what we're building today is in service of where we hope to be in the future. And a lot of that is around legacy and what we think legacy means to us. So what does building a legacy mean for you?
It's funny. The funny thing is I never think about building a legacy, because with my kid, who's now 27, so she's not a kid, I always mess with her and saying, I'm just looking for a return on my investment. So she was my investment, which I guess is a legacy.
When are you expecting that return?
I get it all. Last year we went to Renaissance. This year we went to Cowboy Carter. I'm looking for tangible returns on my investment. So I look at it like that. I look at did I provide a space for my child to be able to be the storyteller of others that were in my family? And so my legacy is that. Her first book is coming out October 14th.
So cool.
And she tells a story about a song my grandfather continuously sung to all the kids when we were all little. And so I think legacy is just never ending. And so as long as that return on my investment
keeps coming,
keeps coming, that's all I look for.
It's so interesting because when I was thinking about you and our conversation, and I thought of this question, I thought of your daughter because I thought, and I don't know your daughter, but I know what you've shared about your daughter and your pride in what she's building for herself and what it looks like for her to be owning the things that bring her joy and building a life. And I can't imagine anything more joyful than watching your child build their own legacy in real time.
Exactly.
And how cool is that you get to witness her kind of growing up in this way and the storytelling piece. I think that is not everyone continues to allow themselves to tap into these pieces of themselves that make them so unique and special. So you'll have to send us some way of tracking the link so that we'll know when the book comes out so folks can find it.
Yes. It brings me to that Hamilton, the musical, that Who Will Tell My Story?
Yeah.
And so I think that's legacy. I think she'll tell my story. She'll tell my grandfather's story. She'll tell my grandmother's, my mother's, my dad's. So as long as there is somebody from my world that will continue to tell our stories, I don't really need to build a legacy because
it's building itself. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. I appreciate you. I know you have busy schedules, so I just am really grateful that you were able to take out a little time. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your story. I know folks are going to get a lot out of you sharing your experience, so I just really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.